bring some of the issues you raised in an expanded conversation. When we send all of this stuff to you, please, we will give you a return date of 2 weeks. Please bear in mind that your own 2 weeks is starting from probably by this weekend. The education people's 2 weeks will start by Monday. Next week, Wednesday, we have the finance people in here. We will also send you those invitations. If you wish to join those conversations, please feel free to come in. Finance people will be here. The upper week, the trade groups and professional groups, that is NMA, MBA, all the alphabet soup of professionals will be here. And finally, in Lagos, the multilaterals and the multinational organizations. So another alphabet soup, UNIDO, UN, something, all of those things. They will be here, including the spenders, Nigerian breweries, Nestle, all the. Come in here and say what you would like to see. Then we move to Abuja on a date to be agreed with my brother and friend here for the federations and also for the government agencies. And this time it is not the ministries, because we've had the ministries, but we now have people like NIPC, Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Fund, Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, BOI, all those money, and the ones that tell you how not to spend the money. So it's a robust engagement, but I can assure you that everyone here will get a chance to also come to Abuja in March and defend what you send back to us. So if you have confidence in what you have, yes, in your memorandum, come in front of everybody and dialogue it out, and then finally we come up with a robust national sports industry. Are there any questions? I'm not going to assume anything. Are there any questions, contributions, issues?
Well, the question is, how soon do we get this?
By weekend. Oh yes, Zeno is going to work all the hours that God sends. The minute you get the email, we'll actually put a return date and expected deadline in your letters, so you will be able to. But we expect those memos now to be a bit more detailed. Use as well. This one is when you raise your hand. Paper, sir. Yes, sir. Email. Easier. Don't need. Just send it via soft copy. Does, because it helps us now to collate for the policy drafting committee. It helps us to collate. Right. And so, yes, question? Oh, no problem.
Good afternoon. My name is Deja Jomale Makwad. One of the things, because we didn't have enough time, one of the things I wanted to mention is sports holiday, which is a very vital area we've not looked at. When there are no sporting events, because sporting events cannot hold every month, sports holiday augments. I'll give you a very good example. In the 2017-2018 season in Europe, there was about 50 million ski holiday sold in Italy, Germany, and France, which is like the what's it called of the Alpines. And this is not the ski World Cup. It's just, of course, the ski World Cup also contributed to it. But by and large, when there was no ski World Cup, people still, go, because these sports, ski, golf, this is why they stand on their own, because they are individualistic in nature. I can decide to wake up tomorrow morning, pick my golf bag and say, hey, Cape Town, here I come. I don't need what's it called? A company. I don't need a company or opponent. Most likely when I get there, I would even get a company. But I can go all by myself. That is why they are unique. Sports like golf, sports like skiing. How do we, and I always say that golf Safari Golf is as unique to Africa, unique and peculiar to Africa, the way Bredi Agege and Ewagoyin is unique to Lagos. No other continent can offer Safari Golf the way Africa does it. So how well are we tapping into this? Golf holiday, and going into local sports. In the meeting, what's it called? I also mentioned how there was something sport meant to us before the colonial masters came in. Have we forgotten about them? Because these are major arrival attractions. Dembe in what's it called in Senegal is a major attraction. If you follow the history of the Masai Mara in Kenya, they are very used to javelin. That is sport on its own. Over there, they've developed what they call the Masai Olympics. So we need to take a look. Agungu Festival, fishing is sports. So we need to develop our local sports and package them in such a way that they can be sold. I'm writing an article, and one of the things I said in the article is that sport is now FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods.
That's one of them.
Yeah, consumer-driven retail.
And that's the way we need to start looking at sports. That this is a package, this is a product.
It's a retail proposition.
So, one, that is on sports holiday. Then secondly, you mentioned it, building sports facilities that are multi-purpose. Yes. I'll use a very good example, the Durban Stadium in South Africa, when there are no football matches.
Weddings and things.
Aside that, you can do about 4 or 5 what's it called, activities. You can do ziplining, you can do bungee jumping, you can do about 4 to 5. And people get to go there like every now and then, even when there are no matches, but there's still income from. So it's very important we look in that area, multi-purpose sporting facilities.
I'm going to cut.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a very quick contribution, Doc. When you spoke about the hosting of events and you gave a figure of about maybe 1 billion, per sport out of the 20, I want to say that we can even do it much lower. And why I'm saying so is your 20 sports, for example, I want to use the example of the table tennis and badminton that we do in Lagos every year. They are international events. And if you look at hosting those events on, sports like that, rather than having a multi-sport event like Olympics or All Africa Games, just host individual sports, specific individual. It's easier to get. And for the ITTF now, which has become one of the biggest, in fact, I think it's the biggest in Africa now, the one that we hold in table tennis in Lagos, I can tell you that we don't spend, it's gotten to this, what would happen eventually, and this is where Ikechi comes in. What happens is eventually, yes, at the initial stage, government spends the money. But I can tell you now, for the ITTF Nigeria Open, Lagos State spends about 20 or 30 million. Because it is now an ITTF event, the international ITTF sponsors, Seamaster and so on and so on, are the ones now sponsoring the major. Lagos State spends only about 30 million, and yet everything comes, the entire cost and all that is maybe about 200 million. But all the other money comes now directly from the International Federation. So if we can take those events, at the beginning, yes, we will spend. But by the time you have taken them to the level of them being the International Federation approved, your sponsorship takes over and your own costs come down.
Thank you. Well, quick. Okay, time is done.
You should round up.
Yes, you should round up.
We know you are our guy, so you should round up. My take. my take is I'm a sportscaster, but we deal in sports content. Everything we're talking about is content. It's content. if we can get our content right, every other thing will fall in place. You talked about you create content, you can start it small, you grow it, you do it professionally, you do it well, and once the attraction comes, it becomes like plug and play. Look at Lagos City Marathon. The very first meeting I was when the Bukola came to my office with the Tinubu, and it was a small meeting, but that was where it started. Now it's plug and play. Yeah. Lagos City Marathon is plug and play. It's 5 years now. We'll continue. We'll soon get the gold level. So the important thing is ideas, great content, and that's where I think when you meet with the federations, please. Maybe if I know the date, I'll come for the federations meeting. I'm very, very much interested in the federations meeting. The federations need to know that they all have content because they all have competitions. It is how you develop those content that matters. And your packaging, that's the word I was looking for. It's the packaging that matters. And every sport, they have to know that they're fit. I'm sorry to take this. When I was in DBN, I was sports manager at DBN. And DBN was a sports channel. I wrote a letter, I'm sure whether you remember, you were doing things with us together. I wrote a letter to all the sporting federations to say they were in the Lagos, they were in the National Stadium then, to say, well, we're a new TV station, if you want coverage for any of you, because I was looking for content. If they had any competition, I remember we did squash, we did polo, we did cricket, but honestly, the only federation that responded to our letter was football. The rest did not even respond. So, but when they had a squash tournament, we went there. And you'll be surprised that we did squash, we did taekwondo, I'm talking about the 90s. We did taekwondo, we did cricket.
Government incentive could be the buses are there to take people for free. Beijing did it, in the 90s. They just took their people all around as an incentive. Transportation free so that people attend. That encourages sponsors as well because sponsors want to see people.
All right. Thank you, everybody. My brother, you mentioned something about...
Thousand people, they will support you with X. Why? 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. Because they claim that that event enables taxi, hotel, this. They have worked it out. So if to get that event in there, you need that X, they will do it. That's number one. It's a model to look at, so that when the federations become fit for purpose, they can see their sport in that light. In terms of media, if those events are held, we will begin to see our media agencies spring up. Just like you gave the example of the 90s when you to a new media house, went looking for content. Even if you put all the school children playing sport every week, content is being developed. And therefore, some smart person could put that content on, or package it and put it on an OTT platform. And say, I have 40 million children every week playing sport. And so a Google will look at you and say, hey, wait a minute, 40 million school children. Come, let's talk. Let's talk about talking to those children. So the intertwining of media and tourism cannot be overemphasized there. We've gone one way. We've gone some way in addressing. The next step is, how do we have a structured plan through a policy? Because once the policy is written, then we can come talk to. I told you people that we have the money. It's not that you people. We know where it is. We may not have it, but we know where it is. No, we know where it is, but they won't give you if you don't go these steps. So can we just go these steps? A very wise lady said to me, whatever your strategy is, get it done right, and the money will find you. The money will find sport if the strategy is right. So this process is to get the strategy right. Please join this bandwagon so that you will not, the boat will not leave you behind. So I can now allow Biodun to do his on behalf of speech. And then we close and refreshments will be served.
All right. Thank you very much. Before the on behalf, I'd like to do a personal behalf. In our work with NESG, 3 things have struck me. And the first one is that, I've been humbled by the amount of information, data, and research that goes on here. And it's amazing that this kind of ideas can come up in this room. And at the same time, out there, we have this problem with our sports sector, as also other sectors in our country. So what that means, basically, is that maybe the problem is actually with us too. You understand? Because we can't identify the problems, know the solutions, know how to go about implementing it, if not 100%. But still, we have this prevailing problem. Then maybe there's also a need for us to look inwards. Thank God, Dr. Nkichi, maybe you use this as a PhD thesis. Yeah. Secondly, I would like to appreciate the NESG on behalf of the minister. If we had to pay PwC or some consulting firm for the amount and body of work that has been done, that is being done and will be done, I don't think our allocation in the ministry will be able to pay for it in the next 3, 4, 5 years. On behalf of the minister, I really want to say thank you very, 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 very much. We cherish this partnership, and I also want to tell you that whatever it is we can do on our part, as much as we can do, we can't do everything. Because sometimes I run into people and they say, why are you not doing this? It's not just to build this. And sometimes even the money around it, if I tell you a ministry gets 2 billion, 3 billion a year, what can you possibly? And that's why when Doctor was giving those figures, I was just laughing, because I was just shaking because I didn't know that Doctor had added magic into his skill sets. And finally, it's also amazing anytime you have this kind of sessions, the kind of new insights you get. I'm probably the only architect here today, but what I heard about infrastructure, I was shocked today. I even learned some things about my own industry that I never knew about. Thank you so much. So on behalf of the Honorable Minister, Mr. Sunday Dare, who is somewhere in transit, I'm sure he's in the air now, going back to Abuja from Benin, Yenagoa, and all of that, who is going to inspect for the sports festival. I'd like to thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And please, we want to see you in Abuja. very soon. Thank you very much.
Refreshments and networking. Now you can network and talk about all those things you wanted to talk about. And don't worry, we will also hear about them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Brilliant.